Welcome to Unorganized Thought, the podcast where we're still figuring out what the intro is, but at least it's better than the outro, where we just kind of fade away and eventually
or just crawl off screen.
We're the Akhtar brothers. I'm Aidan.
And I'm Kieran.
And with us is the Teagan Edie.
It's me. I'm a cousin.
He's an Akhtar cousin technically, yeah.
Doesn't look like it, but
yeah.
Technically, what are you talking about? Technically, physically, like
we have blood in our veins.
Literally our cousin.
There's no technicalities.
There's no technicality. Yeah, just on our mom's side. As far as we know. Well, all I was saying is that his last name isn't Akhtar, as you will see on his little name tag that I'll put up.
Oh, are we going to do it now?
No. Don't do it now. I would have already done it. No, now I have to put him back on.
No, just do it once. Just do it now.
Well, now that I've said that, now I have to do it again. Okay, anyways. But, yeah. This is our dear cousin Teagan.
Hitchings.
Yeah.
From the Hitching side of the family.
Well, now we can't use that as alias now.
Yeah,
now people know.
Now they're going to come to your house. Yeah.
Oops. Well, anyways.
You stay away, Google.
Today we're going to start off by talking about a band that we really like, a Canadian band.
Yeah, dear Canadian band that we've grown up with.
It's probably my favorite band. Yeah. And I think the same could be said for Kieran and maybe Teagan.
It's
up there, definitely.
I just could never pick one, you know.
Yeah,
that's how I put
that's
it.
definitely fair.
Yeah.
And so
we'll always be up there though.
We're talking about Billy Talent. They just released, well, it'll have been a week when this comes out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But recently they released
new song, new two songs, kind of.
Yeah, just
new
kind
music.
Of this new music. And so we were gonna maybe just talk a little bit about that, our thoughts, kind of like what we think this kind of will lead into for whatever the next album is gonna be. So just kind of like, what are your general opinions on it?
The song?
Yeah. First impression, just like good, bad, fine.
I liked that it's the first time I've ever seen Billy Talent. It's the longest song that I think they've ever put out.
Yeah.
Right.
And that'll depend kind of if they split it.
Yeah, because it is called Forgiveness 1+2.
Yeah.
So even in saying that, they kind of categorize it as two different songs.
It kind of felt like that. But then again, maybe it's just a weird choice, and it will just be one long song.
I'd be fine with it like that.
Yeah. And like we were saying, it's reminiscent of Afraid of Heights.
Yeah.
There's Afraid of Heights and then Afraid of Heights reprised.
Yeah.
And so if they decide this is kind of their Afraid of Heights for this one, which was, the namesake of the last album, so it came up twice.
Yeah.
If this next album is called Forgiveness or Forgiveness 1 and 2, Forgiveness 1 will be at the beginning or somewhere near the beginning, and then Forgiveness 2 to close it off. But yeah, I speaking of Afraid of Heights, I got kind of a lot of Afraid of Heights kind of vibes from the chorus, at least.
Yeah, me too.
Like what I was just saying before we started rolling the cameras was, he kind of goes up into the higher register without, screaming it, which was kind of a more Afraid of Heights kind of a choice, or at least sound for me, in my opinion.
It sounded to me too like, I'm speculating with this because I don't know all the details, but it sounds like it's produced by the exact same person, and that might just be
Ian produces.
Yeah, I think there's one other guy. I don't even know if there's anymore, but so it sounds very similar, like guitars, drums, all of it sounds, and even his voice sounds very similar to Afraid of Heights. If you ask me.
And I feel like I don't remember. I should know this. I think it was Afraid of Heights. It was Afraid of Heights or Dead Silence right before, but that was kind of like it was kind of a bigger deal because it was the first one that Ian produced just by himself.
Yeah.
And so if he's doing that now, I wouldn't surprise me at all that he's just continues through.
I mean, there's no reason we can't. I'm just gonna look up the specs if you guys want to keep talking.
What I was kind of thinking about it is that it almost to me, well, I was just saying to Teagan before, is that the intro for sure is kind of feels very metal to me, which is cool because that's kind of it's in
drop D, their traditional.
Yeah, their traditional
their
drop D,
for everything.
But then the other thing, it to me kind of feels like almost just a blend and a mash together of everything that they've put out since 3. Like it feels like 3, some things in 3, some things in Dead Silence, some things in Afraid of Heights, just kind of squished together, and also even some things from hits, where like we only got 2 new songs from Zod and Chasing the Sun, but like those, honestly, to me, those have their own capsule. Because every project these guys put out it has its own feeling, it has its own vibe throughout the entire album. Like you know what parts are from what era.
So he's produced Dead Silence, Afraid of Heights, and TBA is 2020 listed on here. So it'll be soon, you know.
Makes sense. And so each album kind of has its own feel, and the even though it's only 2 songs off of hits, they've always kind of had their own feel to me, because it's not Dead Silence, but it's not Afraid of Heights either. They're kind of and they're not bad, they're great, but they're just their own thing. And so this song kind of feels like a bunch of stuff mixed together, which is not bad. They're always
and I think that if there's one part that I was kind of unsure about, it's the second half, where they're kind of like get into some brass and some like saxophone, like Careless Whisper vibes I was getting from it. But
I wonder who did that.
I was also curious.
I don't know of any of them playing those instruments, but like
if it was just a soundboard, a keyboard with
I don't know.
brass on
I feel like they would want the instruments.
Ian is a very like faceted dude though. Like he's I know he's an animator, so he's a killer like artist, and his guitar playing is like
top notch.
Like one of the best guitarists that I'm into easily, and like maybe he does that as well. He's producing, you know, like you know, he could probably do anything musically at this point, you know.
And that's kind of what I was saying. Kind of what I was saying before is just like there's new things on this song that we've never heard, and like if there's like brass instruments, and I don't know of any of those guys playing brass instruments. But if they said, Ian can play saxophone too,
he can play piano. He can.
I know he can play
piano.
Exactly. And but like if someone said, that's him playing saxophone, or whatever brass instrument it was,
whatever.
I would be like, makes sense. Makes sense. And that's the same as kind of what we were saying. With just the song itself is like, you hear that part and it goes into that melodic area, and it's nothing like anything on any other Billy Talent song.
It sounds good.
It sounds good, and at the same time, like I said to you guys, is that knowing this band and knowing the guys in the band and how they are, it's not a surprising sound to me necessarily. Like it's new, but like knowing where they come from with the ska and like just like knowing their inspirations
when they started,
and just like like jazz or like whatever it is, just it's not a surprising direction for them to have taken.
The closest thing I can equate it to, at least kind of my feelings for that second half, is Horses and Chariots.
That's kind of
because it was a little bit different. It starts with kind of the weird distortion on the bass when Horses and Chariots starts, and it's kind of like, what is this? But even that, now listening to that and contrasted to this is way different.
It's way different.
Like Horses and Chariots, like that's one that honestly gets stuck in my head a surprising amount, and I like it. I like that song. I say it might be my least favorite on that album, but that doesn't mean it's bad.
No, I love everything on that.
I love it all too. I do get vibes of a lot of more filler. Like there's a lot of like that song, for example, for me feels like, okay, we got the singles, we need to fill a couple slots of songs. Like, not that it just seems like they didn't spend as much time on them, in my opinion. You know, I just think they're great. I just think they lack a lot of energy that you'd find on like when you look back at other tracks, like, or like other albums, even like 2 and 3, where it's like, man, like 2 does not stop. Like that
2
album
doesn't
front
stop
to back is like
the first 5 songs are
punched
crazy,
in the face,
and then it doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop. It doesn't, because it's like sometimes in albums you're right. You kind of are waiting for the little dips. And I would honestly say the one where I feel that the most is Dead Silence.
Really,
I
get vibes too.
Well,
it's very long.
I always feel like I find myself almost bashing on 3, but I love 3.
3
like,
gets
it's so
a lot
good.
of hate,
and I know it gets a lot of hate, but I've never understood it.
I love 3 a lot,
and it's so good.
The
I almost feel like it maybe 3 dips towards the end. But then again, it doesn't necessarily.
To kind of bring back to Dead Silence is like, even with Afraid of Heights, I guess I disagree with you a little bit, because with Afraid of Heights, like, we always come up with these like stories in our heads that span the entire album, and that one really has a clear one, and so it never really slows for me there. With Dead Silence, I guess there's a lot of like kind of different themes, like and lots of songs that really kind of mean something specific, and a lot of different ones that are like that, and so like there's a lot of songs in Dead Silence that I like, but I don't love every single one the same way that I do with 2 and 3 and Afraid of Heights.
Just what I was gonna say is that I think I agree a bit more with Aidan, but I can see what Teagan's saying, and I've heard it from other people, and how kind of how This Is Our War and February Wins.
This is what I was gonna say. This is exactly what I was gonna say.
People. What I've heard is that people kind of feel that those blend in and are kind of
that can be seen as a strength too. It really depends on what your taste is and like what you like of the songs. Yeah. But now that I'm actually looking at the set list, I loved like I really like Leave Them All Behind.
Yeah,
which is to me it's a ballad, and it's so good. Mm-hmm. But that goes into Horses and Chariots, This Is Our War, February Wins.
Yeah,
and those 3 tracks to me were
a little
the weakest.
A little bit lacking.
Definitely the weakest. And I only say that, I don't say they're bad tracks or anything. I only say that because the whole first side of the album is
exactly.
Big Red Gun, Cannibal Rats, Crutch, and Rabbit Down the Hole was like,
I love
that is a creepy, like,
so
oh
good.
man, like
really
that is a trip of a song,
Yeah.
But so you get that side, and it's just a thing that happens. It's not bad. It's not a bad album at all. But like you're gonna find albums on anyone like Led Zeppelin, like any discography you go into, you're gonna find. And it is just opinion. That's also what it comes down to too.
And then
also Half Past Dead.
Yeah, that was a bonus song.
Yeah, Japanese
that they released for Japan, and they did a similar thing with this on 3, where Bloody Nails and Broken Hearts wasn't on the original thing, and they added it later. And so, both of those songs are killer.
Yeah,
like Half Past Dead is, I love that song, and I think had they added it to the latter half of Afraid of Heights, I think a lot of people would have changed their minds.
Might have vibed it up a little bit.
Because that song like hits hard, like it's awesome. And so I think it would have picked up the end a bit for people.
Like
and I mean, again, like I said, I like it. I like the whole album, and I've never really had any problems with it. Yeah. But I think for the people that had a bit more of your stance, that would have picked up.
And we're really nitpicking here.
Oh yeah,
and everything we're saying is just kind of, really kind of finding criticisms. Even though this is like we love all of these songs.
Yeah, no, totally.
Just to kind of give some opinions on it.
Yeah.
I think out of all their discography, I'm not even gonna say it's a worse album like Afraid of Heights, but that is probably just because I love one, all of it I love, and that looking back on that album, I will say that can be some cringe-worthy writing, some edgy the X, and stuff like that. Yeah. So you kind of got to take that with a grain of salt. But that's in any.
Well, yeah, you also look at when it came out.
Yeah, they're young, early 2000s. Yeah, that's what was popular.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's early 2000s rock, pop rock, whatever you want to classify them as.
Yeah, so you can still, punk, I can still look at that.
I would probably one for sure would probably be closest to punk, I guess.
I think rock. That, and I honestly think too, it's a weird metal almost.
Exactly. There's such a weird.
Yeah. They're so hard to label.
And that's the best thing about it too. Yeah. No, because if we're even having this conversation, it's you look at them. There's such pulls of especially Canadian pop because they're on the radio definitely Fallen Leaves, all those songs, pop songs mixed in with I would say punk and metal. Yeah. That, which is it's awesome. You're not gonna find that many places. Watouche, that
throw your ska in there.
Yeah, that is a good record. Yeah, that is some experimental.
They're very. It's not surprising at all that this new song is a little bit different because they started as ska, became this weird amalgamation this amorphous thing that you can't describe, and are now sort of branching into other things, and it's well, you couldn't describe them before, so can you really say that that's not what they would do?
No,
right?
Yeah. And there's no point in saying what a band shouldn't do.
Exactly.
There are examples with music, I don't know if I can pull it on the top of my head, but like
Headley.
Don't get me started. Like just not a good pop band, but like it's like I don't want to say it because we could talk about this for like another whole.
Yeah,
podcast.
I know. I was thinking about it.
But like when I think of like Slipknot now,
okay,
like and like I don't know what you'll think about this, but like when I think of Slipknot now, I am looking back at a lot of songs. Like first 2 albums, so good. Third, still good.
Yeah.
But I will say with the third and the rest of their music, when they started doing sad stuff, it stopped being good right there. Like it was edge and just like. Just like
that's kind of something that I've noticed.
And then you get that into like the 4th album with like a lot of those tracks, which is fine. But that I'm not saying Billy Talent does this at all.
No. And
like at all. Like we're just like they have their different sides and stuff, but like I think they're amalgamation of sounds, but I don't think it's ever hurt them, you know. Mm-hmm. And like live, you're gonna get songs. They're gonna start out like full of energy and like they got like Viking Death March when that came out. Like we saw those guys in 2012. Mm-hmm. Oh man, like that was come back since. That was mosh pit. Yeah. Oh yeah, they probably haven't. What I will say about the new song though that is kind of sad is it's not going to see radio because or if it does, it'll be at least cut in half and they'll cut out the whole.
It's too and
that'll be
it's very
interesting
long.
because
and they don't want to hear that part of it.
Well,
so
because
Afraid
of Heights was huge. As a single, that got played everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it'll be interesting, especially like when they released that. They released that a few times, honestly. Like they had a couple different music videos and a picture that moved around. Yeah. And so like that, like by the time the album had come out, I had heard that song a lot. Mm-hmm. And so like it's just interesting to me because like wondering whether this is like because it's obviously the first single for something, and so whether like what direction they'll go with it, because Afraid of Heights was kind of the thing that was just pushed from start to finish, and so now with this it's like, is this gonna be your title track or is the next one just gonna be crazy and just like that's gonna be your radio track and whatever, and like you don't need a radio track, like you're a big enough band, you have enough fans that people are gonna get your album no matter what. Like, but I'm sure that it would be nice to have that radio play too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like it is kind of it's a crappy thing too, because like how it works. So it's like they have to to get radio play, they have to like advertise and they have to say, here's the radio stations, you can hear it, because if they don't do that, then the radio stations won't play their music. Yeah. It's like if you look at big bands like Metallica, for example, they have to do ads for the radio, or else they're like, and these guys don't need them to play on the radio. Like let's be honest, but like it's just how they've been doing it for 20 years, so they do it, you know. Yeah. And it is like when, especially in the States, when you add it all up, you get a lot of people listening to your music through the radio still, even though radio is.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is maybe they'll change it and they'll just kind of direct their marketing to social a lot more and then be like Spotify, because I know they've been doing a lot of Spotify stuff, and so I could see them
and that's kind of
looking that direction maybe a bit more.
And that's kind of the thing, is that like you're saying with radio being a little bit like it stays surprisingly consistent.
Yeah, it does
as one of the things.
It's a beast,
but not so much the rock side of it.
No,
especially not so much the rock side. Like for hits and pop hits and then that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like the radio will always play that stuff, and that's kind of how the radio stays alive, by the very mass popularity kind of things. And rock just kind of isn't that so much anymore to the mass populace, at least.
No, which is fine because it's in better hands, if you ask me.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody listens to the radio anymore. Like to me, it's shocking. It's like so you want to sit through ads, and you want to sit through other music. Like I don't want to listen to ZZ Top anymore. I can't stand that song. Like what's it like? The one on Duck Dynasty, you know, Sharp Dressed Man or whatever it's called. Oh, like that, and like, you know, AC/DC. You know, just songs you hear on the radio, Metallica songs. You know?
Even on the rock stations, they just play the same song.
Nirvana, they play "Smells Like Teen Spirit," "In Bloom," "Lithium," "Come As You Are." Those 4 songs. If I hear them, I'm like, nope, I can't.
Who wants to listen to the first 4 songs of Nevermind?
Again, it's like there's a lot of other good music on that album, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Or any of the other albums.
Yeah.
Let's
put a song up in utero. Yeah. No, you can't, because they say a slightly vulgar word in the chorus.
Rock station.
You know? What do you? Yeah.
what was it? I had two things that I was gonna say about Billy Talent before it feels like we're kind of moving off.
Yeah.
I was gonna say
get off track.
That this track, if I had to almost label it and put it in an area, it feels a bit more like the latter half of Afraid of Heights.
Yeah.
Like if you gave me all the albums and said, where does this fit? That's probably where I'd put it.
Sure.
But again, I'm sure it will go with whatever this new album is and be that. And then the second thing is, I'm almost getting this kind of feeling of like when Green Day started to branch out after they'd been doing the not so recently, but like in the 2000s more, like when it's like
21st century.
Yeah, like 21st century more, when it's like, well, we've had our consistent things. Yeah. And even American Idiot, like before that, it's like we've done our punk albums, and like it's closer to like a sound that this is what you know Green Day is, or even before Warning, like, and then into the next couple albums, then they go, well, like, this is what we've done in the past, let's just keep going. And that's something that I've always kind of felt Billy Talent always evolves with
a lot of people
album.
don't even they'll listen to it and be like, it's a new sound, I don't like it, like,
exactly.
And that's what I try not to do, like like Green Day is a good example of like their new stuff. I tried, like, literally. I tried. I really did. And like, did you listen to that second song?
I don't even listened to some of it. It was
I honestly rough. That's what
it was a play on Ready Aim Fire, but they just switched the words around. It was like Aim Fire Ready.
You don't hear his vocals.
Fire Aim Ready. I don't know what it was. It was just
made me sad.
And
made me very sad.
That's what I was gonna maybe try and build into a little bit. That just like it's sort of, these are kind of the two paths. It's exactly the two paths that can happen, is where you experiment with something different, like Billy Talent did, and it's just kind of like, well, you guys have always been doing weird stuff, and it's not bad, so there it is. But I feel like, and this is my personal opinion, we might get our heads chopped off.
And that's the thing too, is just hold that, is that both Green Day and Slipknot, both of those, like,
they're getting away with it.
Like, a lot of people praise that newest Slipknot album, and I haven't seen any negative stuff about the Green Day, other than when I talk to you. I talk to Teagan, and it's like, because I go online and I see these new music things, and I go, I don't think that was good. And then I text Teagan just to be like, am I crazy? People are loving these.
And well, so that's exactly like the other path, as opposed to the Billy Talent path, is sort of adopting the sound, but the more popular sound at the time. Well, and that's why these ones that, to quote unquote kind of classic fans of Green Day, as it were, and this isn't saying that classic fans can't like this stuff, but like kind of more traditional fans of what Green Day like has done in the past, to see them do what is so similar to the kind of like I don't even know what pop it is on the radio.
Like, it doesn't even feel like mainstream
pop. It's like a
but
pop punk attempting to
it
like. It
seems like this weird kind of like, look at me, I'm glowing and shaking.
That's what it is. They're advertising it as like, we got unicorns and rainbows.
Did you see the music video where they had Wall of Death in the what's the first one? Father of All.
I didn't watch the.
Watch the music video. So
I just saw that they're like it looked like the.
They dressed
it looked like the standing when the
millionaires. First of all, which bugs me. Yeah,
it looked to me like Popstar, in American Idiot or American Idiot and maybe 21st Century. The background, because they had that big wall, and then it's the three of them playing, and I'm like, that reminds me of old stuff. But then they've got the like black bars over their faces, and that's all I saw from it.
So when it goes like a paranoid, like into the chorus, you know, when it does that, they put footage of what they call a wall of death. I don't know if you know what that is, at a concert, when they have, it's like they just run towards each other, and it's just then turn into a mosh pit, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, no one is going to do that to this song at your shows. I'm sorry, nobody's doing that while they're listening to it at home.
No one's done that for your past 5 hours.
And we say all this stuff, but I will try to defend them in this sense. At least they're making new music. I'll say that because there's a lot of bands that, you know what they could be doing, and they do it in a sense because I saw them live. They do, and they'll do it all the time. They're gonna go back and do all their songs, which from an artistic standpoint, kind of lame. Like, really, like,
just redo their albums.
You know? Yeah, not even redo their albums.
Because I thought they were gonna do that actually for a while in between the last couple of albums, because they were practicing they were like live streaming and like redoing all the songs for like Dookie and
that would be cool. And I think I did see they did that. That's cool. I there is a time and a place for that. If you're doing that for every show, if you're playing all the music you did in 1994, like that's just sad. Like first of all, like I get having I think Against Me does that where they do 2 full albums from like the early 2000s. That's cool. That takes skill to actually do that. Like to go and learn all those songs again. I get that. But like if all they did was go through the greatest hits from 1989 till like 2004 when their music stopped being good, whenever that is, pick for you. Because whenever they play, that is lame. Like that, I'm sorry, that's lame. Like you know that band who has that song, She's My Cherry Pie, you know them? Yeah. So they're like one of the biggest one-hit wonder bands ever. They've played that song at their shows in a single show twice. Like we played it once early in the set. We're finishing. Play it one more time because the people love it. Like how pathetic is that?
That is the epitome. Like that. Yeah. I don't know that you can get worse than that. So okay, this is kind of a different thing, but this is a story that I've heard. Is that Kanye did that song, the famous one? I can't say the name of it. It's the one with him and Jay-Z, the one that everyone knows. He played that song. He was on some of his tours. He apparently would just keep playing that song. Mm-hmm. Like he would sing it, it would end, and he would go, again, and he did it apparently 5 or 6 times.
Well, see, that to me seems like more of a Kanye quirk because he loves that song so much.
And like
to me, that is just him being like, I love that so much.
And
I just want to sing it again.
Just going crazy. But that like that again, it seems different because this is like, we have no other song. Mm-hmm. Go back again.
Yeah, kind of coasting on their former glory.
But so what I was saying is, at least we can sort of be happy that they're writing new material,
something new.
Yes, and but at the same time, I'll talk shit about them honestly a lot because I don't like their music at all. But like, what was I gonna say? What was it? Keep talking.
Well, like I can say for me at least, like I honestly, I know that the last album, I know you hated it. Like and I know that it got a lot of hate, but honestly, I'm even someone that held out for that album a bit.
Yeah, I remember.
Like I'll listen to that. Like
you got to think that you got to put yourself in their perspective.
Like now, to me, it's like
too much.
I can't.
I stuck my neck out for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like to me, it was like,
this is what you're doing to me.
No, but so I talk a lot of smack, but I will say though, like they've been doing this for. So 87, they started touring as a band, I think, right? Yeah. Like not popular at all. They didn't get popular till 94 or whatever. Mm-hmm. So they've been doing it for however long that is.
Yeah.
At this point, it's a job. At this point, it's make a record, tour the record, time off, repeat. Yeah. Like there's no way that being this like huge can be like artistically positive anymore. I don't think, you know. I really can't see that.
And
so
that's kind of the biggest thing. That's kind of the biggest thing that I can hope for is that both for Green Day and Slipknot, at least like, and I mean, if you love these new albums, then fine. Like that's
it's subjective.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, and but like if that's what you like, then that's cool. But for me personally, is like my hope is that people hate these albums, and so then they get the kick in the butt and they go, okay, we can't do that anymore. It lights the fire under them so that they have to go, we got to do something different because and that's what happened to Eminem on the last album. People hated Revival, but then he came back with Kamikaze and it was like, okay, all right,
a little crazy, but you know, like that was pretty hardcore.
It's like once you're the underdog again, now it's like I have something to prove. Yeah, again, you know, and I think that's the best.
You don't have to get to that thing where your fans totally disengage with you.
Well, and you shouldn't have to.
You should not have to. Like,
but it to me kind of feels like it's gotten to that.
Absolutely.
But I know that like there's no way that Green Day would ever like take this route of music for the sake of, you know, being in the public eye of publicity. Like, I know they didn't shift to this to try and, like, you know, be on the radio.
To try and make more money.
Exactly. And so this is just them trying something new. And I think it just sort of fell flat for certain people.
Yeah.
And so, like...
Yeah. I mean, the world would be nothing if everyone had the same opinion.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's what makes it interesting, you know?
And that's the thing that I'll always respect about those bands. It's like, if this is just you going out and this is what you like, as long as this is what you wanted to do, then that's fine. As long as you're not trying to like, well, these people sound like this, so this is kind of the direction we have to go.
This is what's popular, so that's what I should do.
As long as you're making these choices because that's musically where you're going, then I'll always respect that.
Yeah.
But even if I don't necessarily agree with it.
This can change our subject too into the MyChem thing.
Okay.
Because I will be honest, you know what I'm pretty sure is going to happen at the reunion show? They're going to go through all the... Or they'll probably go through from... they won't do the first album. I don't know if they will. I'm just being a dick.
I could see them maybe doing, like, vampires or something.
Yeah, they'll do that. But, like, imagine if they busted out, like, Honey.
That would be crazy.
Oh, like...
Yeah. See, like, and that's the thing, is that the people who are going to be going to those shows are the people that are older now and that are, like, been fans of them for a long time who have listened to that first album. And it's like... If you guys bust out Bullets, that would be the craziest thing ever.
And I'll say, too, though, I listened to that album probably last. I did not listen to it first at all when I got into that band.
Well, it was hard
to find.
Yeah, exactly.
You could find a really rough copy on YouTube, and you had to sit through ads and watch it, you know.
Exactly, and that's how I got it. I YouTubed MP3 that whole album onto my iPod.
Yeah.
And that's how I listened to it. But now, after they broke up, it became a lot more accessible. Like, I got a vinyl of it.
Yeah.
Like, it exists now.
In the past year, I haven't listened to any of their music other than that so much. I literally put that on and be like working out. Like, that is a good, like, angry,
it is.
Just mow down album.
Yeah, that, honestly, and kind of going back to, like, almost redoing some music, I would love to see a remastered version of that.
Yeah,
but
get
then
it
again,
off of Eyeball so they can sell it in the stores.
Well, yeah, exactly. But then it's kind of a give and take because part of what makes that album so good is just how kind of crummy it is. It's grungy.
It's super underground.
It's just grungy, and it's just awesome. You can hear the falters in his voice when he's yelling, and it's like,
recorded in
a
basement, probably like this.
Yeah,
like that's kind of the record that was, you know.
Yeah. I think that the thing that I found most interesting about this whole My Chemical Romance thing is that Kieran, like, when he was kind of first discovering the music, was like was it like a couple years after they broke up, or was it? Or
it was we like I kind of got into them slightly after Teagan on it, but it was right as
I remember. I think I had been into them.
I remember
for a year when
what was it called? Yeah,
I remember the day it happened.
Yeah, what was that album called?
Which one?
That they put out at the end.
May You Never Die.
I remember.
May Death Never Stop You.
Yeah, I remember when that came out.
I bought that. Yeah, with the armband. I got the T-shirt.
Yeah, because we both kind of got into it.
Yeah.
Just kind of after Danger.
Yeah, and so after,
I won't admit that I won't try and claim that I was following them the whole time. Like I got into it late. But
we were 3 when their first album came out. We were not like first-hand fans of this.
But what I was kind of building to there is that since you guys were kind of essentially a part of that breakup, you were a fan when that happened.
Yeah.
Like there were all these talks of okay, like maybe this is some sort of a greater conspiracy.
Well, I've always kind of we've kind of always talked about
where all like Gerard's kind of made up universe that kind of centers around some of these albums and songs and stuff takes place in the year 2020.
No, not 2019.
2019.
This year.
This year. And so and I remember you saying that when they first broke up, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe that's some sort of a weird Gerard conspiracy that, in fact, he did just break up the band so that they could then get back together for the sake of his secret universe. But I remember, I haven't been as much of a fan as these two have been. But I remember it being cool because you were like, maybe this will happen. Sure enough, 2019 rolls around.
Yeah.
It happens.
And it was they kind of psyched everyone up because 2019 happened and everyone's like, maybe this is the year.
Maybe it'll happen. I've seen fakes in like 2018.
Yeah, and people were like, oh, it's happening. Yeah. And then there's the whole thing with the Jonas Brothers, and then Frank just roasted them.
Yeah.
And so everyone's kind of like, oh, and there was rumors. Gerard was like, yeah, it's not happening.
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden, 2019 at the end, they go, yeah, actually, we're doing it. Yeah. And everyone's like, no way.
Why don't you just because people might not know, why don't you preface the Jonas Brothers story there?
Sure. Well, allegedly one of the, I don't know which one, Nick Jonas maybe, was like, he kind of was on a Jimmy Fallon or some interview where he was like, yeah, I've got some secret gossip. I heard I don't know if anyone's supposed to know this, but My Chemical Romance is practicing down the hall from us.
When's this?
In some interview. It was a couple months ago.
Okay.
And it was right before everyone got asked about it, and they were like, no, it's not happening. It was right before that, and he goes, yeah, they're practicing down the hall from us. And so then they're like, whoa, that's crazy. And everyone everything blew up. And so then Gerard got asked about it on some magazine interview, I think, and he was like, yeah, no, that's not happening. And then Frank was like, no. And then he you can find this if you go on his Instagram. He put out this video. He's got like tape on his eyes, and he's just taking the piss. He's like, yeah, I don't know. We're practicing here, and I'm pretty sure that the Ramones are playing down the hall, but I thought those guys were dead, so I don't know what's going on there. And so he just roasted these guys for thinking that he heard them down the hall. But then, like, I feel like you'd feel so bad. He was like, oh man, I thought I heard them playing. And then a couple months later, he's like, yeah, we're back. So he probably did, like, looking back, he probably did hear them playing down the hall. But then they just, like, just made fun of him.
Just, like, ripped him apart. And he's like, okay, man, jeez. And then he's like, yeah, but actually we were. I just think that's kind of funny.
Oh, yeah. It is weird, though, that it's actually happening. Like,
it is.
Like, I still, like, I looked at that picture that I sent you the other day of them in the circle, and I was like, that's so cool. Like, to actually them, like, getting... Because I did not think this was going to happen.
No.
From, like, when you look at why they broke up, and it's so, like... It's just... Like, you get things of, like, you know, Gerard, like, he came to the realization that it wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah,
so
his whole, like 3-page
it was clearly... He
documentary
just went, hey, you know what would be cool, guys? If, you know how I made this story in 2019? What if we broke up and then came back in 2019? And Frank's like,
the table.
hey, listen, man, I just want to make music. And he's like, no, but it would be really cool. It'd be like translating my story into real life. And it's like,
I hope not.
Gerard.
Like that. But, like, the other thing, too, is, like the Umbrella Academy, like, that's a show now. So it's like,
it's a good show.
I almost, like, feel like he got into that and was like, like Hollywood life, like, not for me. So, like,
I kind of felt that too.
And, like, I don't even think they're getting back together. They're doing, what, is it 2 or 3, 4 shows?
Well, I don't know. Like, I could honestly see them pump out an album. Like, I think that'd be crazy. Like, imagine
if they did, that would be something else. If they truly did that, if that came out in the next year or two.
That's been my...
Yeah, I hope so.
Fingers,
I really hope so.
Well, because to me, every time they say something, it just seems like there's more and more. At first, it was like, one show.
Yeah.
LA, one night only. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. But then they're like, nah, actually, there's more shows. And so to me, it just feels like every time there's just more and more and more. And then all of a sudden it's going to be like, hey, this is coming.
That's what it's going to be, though, because, like, they shut the band down. Like I said, I remember when that happened. I was a huge fan of that band. And I remember, like, looking at my phone. It was a Saturday morning. I'm like, oh, like, that sucks. Like, that's really sad. And, like, they have another generation of fans younger than us now.
Well, yeah, exactly. There's a whole generation of fans of them that were never around when they were together.
Yeah,
you know,
it is weird to think about.
Yeah, and
that was 2012.
It's a strange thing.
They did it, right, or 2013. It was like May or March or something.
Yeah, I want to say 2013.
Yeah,
but that could be wrong.
A long time ago now.
And then the other thing that I was thinking is, this is kind of just in my conspiracy brain. I think I was talking to Aidan about this. Because you were, like, we've had this conversation before, is how Frank, for his solo albums, he was the producers, I think you were saying? Or, like, he worked
Vig,
with the people.
Yeah.
He worked with the people that Nirvana worked with for their albums.
Butch Vig did Parachutes.
Yeah.
Which is he did Nevermind, and then they used Steve Albini for In Utero. But Butch Vig is, like, he's in Garbage. I don't know if you heard that band. He did Against Me. He did their 2 biggest records. Like, he's
and so he kind of did that. And so I was kind of thinking, now that and it was also that after this third album, he was kind of saying, like, I don't know, I treat every album like it's my last album, but I don't really have plans for another one after this. And so I was like, to me, at least, it seems like everyone's kind of come to a point where it's like, their solo stuff is done. Like, and I'm obviously, like, Ray hasn't done anything.
Remember the Laughter.
Yeah. The biggest thing he did was a cover for Umbrella Academy with Gerard. And then...
for the show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't even hear that.
And so then...
just, like, played during the last credits.
Yeah.
The credits of the last episode.
Shade of Winter.
That's a nice nod there, Gerard.
Yeah. And so then people were like, whoa, are you guys getting back together? He's like, no.
Yeah.
And so then, and Mikey Gerard got him into comics or something. Like, he's doing some comic book stuff. He's played music a couple times, but like,
I didn't love that.
Like, everyone, it seems to me like everyone's kind of in a lull now.
Yeah.
And so them getting back together and honestly doing music now just kind of seems like it might track.
Yeah.
I could see it, yeah.
And honestly, like, why not? You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
even if they did it under a different name, I'd be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, I get not... Because, like, as soon as, like we were talking about, as soon as you put My Chem on anything, it's just, like, people are going to flock to it, you know? And that can be... Daunting, and yeah, you may not want to.
Well, and see, that's the thing.
But then you get weird stuff like with Green Day doing that, but it's like it's totally transparent because they're playing the same music.
Yeah, when they're that other band or whatever.
They have two other bands, yeah. And it's like it's the same stuff, guys. Like you're not really, and we can tell that it's the same guys playing it too. Like you're not that just because you wear different outfits.
Yeah, I saw a couple of YouTube videos. It's like, is this Green Day? Like, yeah.
Well, I bought that CD. Remember, it was Foxborough Hot Tubs, and you're like, oh, what's that? And I was like, it was just Green Day under a different name with wearing like silly hats on stage. And then they did like Long Shot. Remember?
I remember that. No, I didn't listen to it either.
Same thing.
That like, to me felt more. That was more of a Billy thing.
Yeah. Well, and Jeff Matika was like big in that band too.
Was he in it too? Okay.
Then there was that like fiasco though with him.
What happened with that?
I don't know. I don't think we should talk about it because it was like
he's out.
I think he's been out. It had something to do with like. I think domestic abuse or something.
Oh,
so
good.
I shouldn't say that because I don't remember, but it was. I'm pretty sure he's out of the band. You know.
Interesting. Well, yeah, because I was wondering about that.
Well, because there was the Jeff Matika show. Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
yeah.
Quattro happened, then that happened, and then it was like, I guess he's gone.
Yeah. I don't want to, taint someone's image, but you can find it out there.
Yeah, because after Quattro, it kind of seemed like, hey. This is a guy who's been with us for a long time. Mm-hmm. We're kind of bring him to the front a bit, but then in the next albums,
gone.
It was just the three of them again. I was like,
oh, you're thinking of Freeze though, right? Or sorry, White. Jason.
Yeah,
White.
I'm
There's
thinking
so many
White.
Jasons.
Yeah,
There's three Jasons.
That's why. But also,
so Jason White is still with them. I'm pretty sure though. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He had throat cancer or something ugly there, but I think he's still like touring with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Then that guy too. What happened? He's gone.
Matika was the guy. God. So I don't love when big bands do this. So there was Billy, Mike, and Trey, right? And then they got Jason.
Jason was there.
Freeze to play piano and do like during like King for a Day and stuff like that. Yeah. He's cool. He's still there as far as I know. Then they got Jason White as lead guitarist. Yeah. And not even all the leads. Like Billy still does a lot of them. And then I think he just does the harder ones that Billy wants to just walk around. Now then they got Matika, who is literally just like all extra rhythm, like more loud sound for guitar, which is I think it's stupid, but like when you're a band playing stadiums, I guess it's fine,
Yeah, it's fair.
But as far as I know, Matika's gone. I think they keep Freeze because they have a lot of songs with piano in there, especially now. So that's fine. But
interesting.
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know about that at all.
Yeah. But then you get stuff like you listen to their songs and like their new songs and it's garbage and you're like, this does not need 4 guitarists on it at all.
Yeah.
And Mike is super great because he's simple. Like he doesn't put effects through his bass really at all. Like he just plays straight through amp most of the time. Some TD over there possibly.
Oh no. This angle's out of storage.
Uh-oh.
I forgot to delete them off my phone after the last one. Okay,
you can do that.
It's all right.
I'll just do it right now. So,
we can use that as a move on.
We can just go to wide, I guess.
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah, and move on from
music.
From music, yeah.
Yeah, because I could talk about.
Yeah,
that
we
for
could
days.
talk about music for forever.
What was the next thing you guys want to talk about?
We got lots of things. Well, yeah.
You could build into honestly. You could build into like Umbrella Academy. You mentioned that.
Well, we could, yeah.
I have to read the third book.
Oh, well, yeah, I haven't read it.
It's in stores now, I've seen it.
I do actually have a segue off Umbrella Academy, and I guess we'll just keep going. Is that going into some of my Marvel rumors, is that, well, I don't think this is so much rumors, but they've kind of announced that it's the writers. So because they announced the new shows, and so they announced Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk. And so then they said that the writer for She-Hulk is going to be the woman who wrote the Pickle Rick episode of Rick and Morty. which is interesting. It'll be a quirky, like, I like that kind of idea that they're going to go for maybe a bit of more quirky humor for a She-Hulk show, which I think that's cool. Also, maybe they're just like, you can write things for green people. I'm sure that's a meme somewhere. But then they announced that the guy who wrote Umbrella Academy is writing for Moon Knight, which I think is the more I was thinking about it, I think it's a good idea.
Oh yeah, keep going. I just thought of something.
Tegan's got something to say. I was thinking that it's probably a good idea, mostly because I don't know. I thought the Umbrella Academy show was good. Yeah. I know Aidan thought it was pretty good, and it was different from the comics. But then again, looking at comic to show adaptations or movies, there hasn't really been anything that's like direct from this to this, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just the only reason that you kind of compare it a bit more is because there's such a limited run of Umbrella Academy.
Yeah.
And so then you look at it
3
a bit
books.
More like
Small books.
Like a book rather than a giant comic book character that you're taking a random story from, which I think they kind of did a bit more for the show, which is fine. But he did a very good job of establishing just kind of a mood and a tone throughout the show.
Yeah.
While also there was just if you I think if you had to describe kind of the humor and just kind of aesthetic in that show, it would be kind of quirky, which I think would be perfect for Umbrella Academy, and I think that's kind of the thing that you want for a Moon Knight series is that like you want someone who can capture a darker tone, but then also throw some just kind of weird quirky stuff in there. Like Moon Knight's first appearance was in a comic with a werewolf, you know, and like it's just kind of weird stuff. He's kind of that weird area of the Marvel universe. And so, like, I think having someone with that catalog is
good.
A good idea, yeah. What was your thought?
I don't watch any of this stuff. Like, I have to say that first. Like, so I don't have much to say. But, like, Umbrella Academy came out, and I was like, I never watched it, but you guys said it was good. Yep. So whatever. Move on. Then I saw they did Doom Patrol, and that made me sad really fast. That was a big punch in the gut.
I don't know if you guys watched it. I can't say anything about it, but it just all of the advertising looked really bad.
It looked like every other superhero show I've ever seen in my life.
Well, it looked like they were trying to make it kind of quirky, like Umbrella Academy kind of succeeded in doing, in my opinion, and kind of like
trends,
trying to go towards like Guardians of the Galaxy kind of team of misfits who are just kind of like friends who eat pizza, kind of a
TMNT.
You know.
But so I saw that, was very sad. Didn't watch that. I'm not going to. Then I saw the Watchmen series, and that man.
I don't know enough.
And that's
about
the thing is
I don't know enough. Only thing I know is like I'm not watching it, but like just leave it alone, please. Yeah. Like Watchmen as one thing was so good. There was the before Watchmen comic books years ago. That was not great. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I read all of them. Like, they didn't do any. Like, Watchmen is so good. You're never gonna touch it. So just stop. Just leave it alone.
That's kind of the thing.
I know HBO is making it. I like HBO for the most part, but like, just don't. Like, just please. Like, it's just.
Yeah.
And Alan Moore, the king of weird great comic books. He has literally come out and said, like, so I said before, I was like, the thing that article came out about Scorsese and how he was like saying like how superhero movies aren't cinema. And I would never say that. Like that's kind of mean. But coming from Scorsese, like this guy has been doing this from the 70s, and the movies he makes are very singular and original and from stories. So from his point, it's going to be hard for him to see them as that. Yeah. And I would never say that. But
and see, my only take on that is that it's just a very linear way of looking at it,
totally,
you know?
Totally.
And that, like, because I get where he's coming from, because he just puts, like, you know, 1,000% into every project that he does, and he can't see that the writers for these Marvel movies are doing the same thing.
It would be like asking, though, like, it'd be like asking, like, I don't know, like, someone who, like for me, I'm not gonna like these movies because it's not what I enjoy to watch, so there's no point in me just talking smack about it. Like, I'm not ever gonna love it so much. But like when Alan Moore he said the same thing. He's like, this is a really bad phase for comic books. It's really bad. And I was like that that made me sad because I was like, he feels that way about Watchmen, and it's such a huge book, you know, and that HBO can just take it because once again
he sold the rights.
Because he sold the rights.
He hasn't had anything to do with Watchmen for so long. Like, he honestly hates it now.
I mean, and that can be seen in a lot of people, I think. But like, it's just to me, and like, what did it come out? 85, I think. I don't even remember. Obviously, I wasn't around then. But like, that's one of the first comic books I read that was like, ooh, wow, like, and like pulled me in so far, you know. And then like the movie, I like the movie. I personally do. Like, I like Zack Snyder's movie, and I love all of his movies. Like, he's a director who it's like he incorporates CG. Like, he did 300. I think he did Sin City, like Frank Miller's, and just like the colors of all of his movies are just so vibrant.
Justice League,
Batman did too, right? Yeah, I never even watched that one all the way.
They're not very good.
Yeah, but I guess bottom line, just don't touch Watchmen. Like, just read the book and like just stick to that. There's nothing else you'll need. Like, there's really not. Even watch the movie. I think there's people nitpick about the movie. Like, what do they say about the movie? That it's like
there wasn't a giant squid at the end.
Yeah, something like that. It's like,
and the thing
that was
is,
always
I don't
a really
understand
weird.
It was.
The thing I don't understand about people who don't like that movie is just like. And maybe I'm wrong.
This was the closest we were going to get.
It is.
Alan
really
Moore,
is. Like,
everything he does is just so like almost
Watchmen?
Lovecrafty.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah,
how how
insanely
kind of complex it is. So for a modern audience, or at least a mundane audience, this was the closest that he was going to get.
He didn't even do that. Like, Watchmen is like revered as an unadaptable property, and he did it. I thought he did it pretty good. And the other thing is, with Alan Moore, this is a guy who went out of his way to make a comic book to try to end the world.
Yeah.
Like, he wrote this trying to break people's minds.
It's also not a superhero comic. Like, people
not
think...
Watchmen, a different one. But now you're on Watchmen. What I was referring to is different.
All I'm saying about Watchmen is like it's a comic book, and yes, it has superheroes. This is it's not about, in the same way like Spider-Man. It's not about superheroes saving people.
It's very much like an anti.
It's anti. Like, when you get like Rorschach, who is like he's a criminal who. A vigilante who keeps it going, and it's such a good book. Like,
we gotta show you The Boys.
Yeah, did you watch The Boys?
It's an Amazon Prime series.
No, I haven't seen it.
We gotta show it to you because
it's based off. Who's it based off? Miller, I think, wrote the
Frank
comic.
Miller.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or it was Miller, or
I don't remember.
Or it was Garth Ellis, maybe.
Garth Ellis.
I don't know. Who am I thinking? I'm
sorry.
Sorry,
you're just naming names.
Well,
I don't know.
Just look up The
We
Boys.
do have the internet, so I'll look it up.
I think it was.
I know who it is, and I'm frustrated now because
The Boys.
Yeah.
Is this okay?
Just look up The Boys comic.
Yeah, Garth Ennis.
Yeah, Ennis. I said Ellis. Yeah.
But anyways, that gave me some kind of Watchmen vibes. It plays a little bit more as kind of a parody or a satire on the superhero genre as opposed to putting a kind of where Watchmen is just Watchmen they happen to be superheroes is kind of
and Watchmen was also kind of like a world like it was like saturated with superhero things. This is a different look, and it was like Watchmen was also a bunch of people trying to be superheroes, which was kind of something that I will admit got a bit lost in the movie, where they're punching people into the air, and it's like that's not so much what the comic was about. But the comic, it was these ordinary people trying to be superheroes, and that was the whole thing.
They
is
use
that
the term
Dr.
vigilante so much, which to me I was like 10. I was like, what is that? Like, this is so cool. Like, and then you learn what it is, and you're like, it's a person who's taking the law into their own hands.
And that's why it was kind of very interesting, because Dr. Manhattan was the only actual
and
powered
he was just
person.
the most powerful.
And he was the most powerful.
So
Rorschach and Night Owl are just dudes.
Yeah,
and
so
they were strength.
They were more kind of going for the contrast between like having actual power and what to do with it, and taking power into your own hands, and how that like the right and wrong for each of those people. Like, since Dr. Manhattan has power, does that justify him being able to do all these things? Like, just because Night Owl doesn't have superpowers, does that mean that he should be incarcerated if Dr. Manhattan is
and that's
let to
kind
do
of
what
the
he
whole
wants to
thing.
do.
I guess this spoilers for Watchmen, I guess, but like, come on.
At this point,
should've
like, if you haven't seen it,
if you haven't
probably
read
not
it,
going to watch
and
it.
that's just kind of a sidebar, is that Watchmen is kind of the one where, like, which doesn't really make sense because it's heavy and complex, is that it's kind of the one that like non-comic book readers will read.
Yeah, no,
that's
totally.
what I've like. It's kind of strange.
That's where people get lost though too, because they think it's Watchmen, and that's such a big name.
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's such a part of the lexicon where it's like
people
think it's just comic books right there.
Yeah.
Superheroes. Nope, I'm not doing it. But like that is a very gritty, violent book. Like it is. It's pretty hideous.
Heavy.
And like,
is,
as people who read comic books, that's not the one that I would recommend to people, like
not
if you said readers. If you have to, this person doesn't read comic books, what would you recommend to them? I wouldn't start off by going Watchmen. No. Definitely do that.
I would in
it's
a
something
sense,
you
though.
should. Well, it totally depends on the person, but I know what you're trying to say.
Well, it's not. I'm not saying that it's if someone was like, what should they read? Because as someone who's going to read a comic book, you should read Watchmen. Like, it's amazing.
For adults,
but as as your introductory to the world of comic books, I wouldn't say
I would give him like Year One by Batman.
Yeah,
Frank
exactly.
Miller, so good.
Yeah.
Can be dark and stuff, but like that or like I don't know, maybe like Batman is such a good place to start, I think.
Yeah. Or Spider-Man or like something like that, where was I going? But yeah, because I said spoilers, is what you were saying is it's kind of that the gray line and the kind of what's right, because that's the whole crux of the end where Ozymandias does this thing and Rorschach's like,
he doesn't want to stop.
We can't do that. Like don't do that, man. And then Dr. Manhattan's like, it may have been somewhat unethical, like the ways he did it, but what he did and why he did it were pretty good reasons, Rorschach. And he's like, nope.
Well,
and so he's like,
and I've always I love a good moral dilemma, because
and that's kind of what the whole
Rorschach was unwilling
to not tell. He was going to tell.
Yeah,
everybody.
exactly. He was unwilling to go forward with
silent.
It's kind of like it's like that Thanos quote kind of near the end. You obviously won't get it, but it's it'll be a new world, and Cap says, born out of blood. And Thanos says, but they'll never know it.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially encapsulates that situation, is Rorschach, like, these people need to know what you did. Yeah. Because what you did was a horrible travesty.
Yeah.
Whether it was for the right reasons or not.
Yeah.
But in that situation, like, I guess the angle that they kind of were, well, at least the angle that Ozymandias was taking was that the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, you can argue either way, but honestly, the moral side of me sides with Rorschach. Because you can't do horrible things
to obtain world peace, though.
And like
that, like it's a pretty big thing.
But at what cost?
Well, exactly.
Right? Like destroying
every capital of the world.
Destroying all of
the
New
alien
York.
threat.
Like that it doesn't like. What have you accomplished? You've just killed more people. Like maybe that many people might not have died. Like and like
so it's an interesting moral dilemma.
Interesting moral dilemma, and that's what I like
and see,
about
that's the thing that I'm very weary about the HBO show bringing it back, is that it's a sequel. And not only it's a sequel to the comic book. It's not a sequel to the movie.
So it's this weird
world after, which is I haven't seen it. I've heard, honestly, I've heard good things. I've heard that people like it, but then again, it's not finished. Like, I don't know how it will be as a whole.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
HBO hasn't had a good track record for endings in the past year or so.
Is that part of the craziest thing about Watchmen is the end. And so trying to go, this is definitively what happens after that, is not a good idea. And it's like saying what happens after Inception.
Like I said,
because at the end of Watchmen, it ends
with this, what do you think was right? To the audience, essentially.
It ends, Rorschach sent the journal
right.
to a news place.
Yeah.
So it's like, maybe the world did find out. Maybe they didn't.
Well, he publishes
don't
it.
know.
Yeah, he published it in his
Yeah.
newspaper or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were led to believe that that information did get out.
Yeah, and so
because Rorschach sent it
Yeah.
to the newspaper.
Yeah, and I feel like
And
to
so
kind
it's
of
like-
explore what
but then
happens
it-
after that is just not necessary.
Well, to me, it was.
and I could see that it's interesting because basically the premise that I saw from the trailer of that show is that what I understood of it is that the police are like, well, people only answer people only pay attention when you're wearing a mask, and so now the police have donned masks, and there's like this, almost like it's this masked law enforcement fighting against
a cult of Rorschach.
A cult of Rorschach, and so it's like, now are you saying that this cult is that's all that came of what Rorschach did? You know,
I don't know.
Of just a few
We shouldn't
purists.
say
But
too much about it because we haven't seen it, and so we can't really
I'm
judge
just-
it.
As a fan of the comic book and the movie, it I don't know. I'm a bit unsettled.
You're
by
wary,
the
I
idea.
think.
I'm very wary. I'm very wary too by the fact the timing of it is like
kinda
it would be very hard to make it not seem like they're just trend jumping where it's like it's very obviously superheroes. Like what is huge right now? What makes a lot of money? That okay? What is a superhero franchise that's not being used right now?
Mm-hmm.
That is huge, and that we can use Watchmen. Oh, let's do that. Like done. Like like that's what it seems like to me. And then it's gonna after however long, but I think if they were to do a prequel, if it would have been the Minutemen like running around.
That's honestly where I would have taken.
What was the guy's name who had he was like blue?
The noose on him.
Yeah. Was it the judge or something like that? He was so cool, and like when he's
he beat up the comedian.
He beat up the comedian because he was going after that sexual assault
scene. What is her name? Silk
Spectre. Yeah. So, but yeah, he just like qualps him, and that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they take the photos, and there's so many like weird like.
Well, did you see that they redid that photo in the HBO show?
In the trailer.
I saw just a picture of lined up side by side because they did that photo in the Snyder movie. Yeah. They had the picture from the comic and the one from the HBO show. Yeah. And it's like, why? Like, if this has already been done, just like at least go into your new ground. Like, if if you're touching this universe, don't go backwards. Yeah. You know.
Well, that's what the thing was with like the comic books, like Rorschach, because they did it in twos. They did like the before Watchmen's. They did like I think it was Rorschach and I think it was the comedian. Then they did like Silk Spectre, Ozymandias, and like whatever the Mr. Universe. Him. And I don't remember. I think that would. I don't remember what, but they did in twos. Yeah. And like Rorschach's didn't solve anything. Like it was like. Well,
and that's the thing.
It was just it was a prequel, so it was like not by far. It was just him like ripping around the sewers and like. It was. I liked the atmosphere of it because it was the same as Watchmen, very like grimy, seedy, like New York, alternate universe. So that was great, but
well, and that's the thing about Watchmen is that it's meant to stand on its own.
Yes.
Adding anything else to that universe just will honestly, it's hard not to take away at that point.
I would 100. Yeah.
You learn about Rorschach's past in there, and so when you go to do a prequel, it's like. Well, we know about a lot of this stuff that happened. We saw stuff from his childhood. Yeah. We saw stuff from like some of his first superhero experiences. Yeah. So it's like you have to find some sort of weird middle ground where nothing can happen.
And most importantly, you know where he ends.
Exactly.
And so, what is the point of telling stories in between? But anyways, if you have any finishing thoughts, because we're running over time a little bit here.
No, it's fine. Like all I would say is like. Oh, I want to say the same thing I saw happen in Doom Patrol. Whereas, like, when you read Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol, and I know there's the one before it, and it's not as good. Ask anybody. Not as good. Like the run in the 60s, because it died, and then they had to bring it back. Yeah. When Grant Morrison brought it back, that's the one everybody knows. Yeah. And so now Gerard is writing his thing of it, which is fine, and it's good. But Grant Morrison's is by far the best, and I think they're doing that with the show, basically. But all it is to me, it's just like... It's putting the Doom Patrol into like superhero, and once again, that is not what the Doom Patrol is or was ever. It's like surrealism in a comic book, literally, and that's why it's cool. Yeah. So don't put it on. What was that one like?
AMC.
Yeah, something
No.
ABC.
CW probably.
Something real
Or
lame.
was it was a Space Channel?
Yeah, I think it was. It was real lame, and I was like,
But then it's also weird because that's a DC property, but all their other shows are on CW.
comics on.
Don't they have their own subscription
Now they
service
have
too now?
Maybe is that I
Who
think
knows?
that's
Who
out. I
knows?
don't know.
It's on. It's not even in DC Books either. It's not.
Is it Dark Horse?
No, it's not Image. It's not Dark Horse. Like the it is now in Dark Horse for Gerard's, but like
Okay.
Grant Morrison's is
So
something else.
it's not a DC property
It is, but it's like
because
it's
Cyborg's
like
in it.
yeah. Well, he's in the later ones.
Weird.
Yeah, it's super weird. So it's like, what was the one Morrison was on a whole bunch? Frick, it's slipping me, but it's definitely not DC. It's like this weird thing where they distribute parts of it, and parts of it are in different.
Well, that's kind of like what Watchmen's at now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah.
Even though because DC has it, and they did the whole Doomsday Clock run, which I didn't read.
Yeah.
But it's like the Watchmen
that had Batman
with Batman and
yeah.
Superman, and now there's a whole thing going on, which I've heard.
Alan Moore, this hairy beast, is just like.
Yeah.
Just like sitting there not
Mr.
happy.
Sunday
Doing about how
said-
existence is awful.
He just didn't stick in a swamp thing.
I heard that apparently that when people were reading that, they were like, "Why are you adding Batman and stuff into this?
Just don't.
Just leave.
Please.
Just leave it."
I can't. Yeah. Anyways.
But anyways, thanks for tuning in. This won't be out till next Saturday. And so if there are any like major developments in like Billy Talent from then it's gonna be a little bit weird, I guess. But
there probably won't be at Christmas time,
Yeah, probably not. But anyways,
Dead Silence came out in December a couple years
ago. Oh, did it?
Actually, yeah. That's a side.
Yeah. But anyways, if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to. I hate
you hate it, but
subscribe.
I think with the new algorithm and kind of things changing, I've noticed that at least from channels that don't usually do that, they're switching because they've said. I know the Achievement Hunters were saying.
Oh yeah, like
they were saying that there's something different, and so those guys were saying we want to test something and see what happens.
Yeah.
And after that video came out, I saw them switching it and saying, "Hey, this will help us."
Yeah,
and so I'm thinking that there's some new changes. So likes and subscribe.
If you manage to get through the whole thing, good job.
And if you like it, I think in that same information that we've gained, the bell is actually useful now.
Oh yeah.
Not that we put out so many videos that it really matters.
Yeah.
But YouTube apparently likes to hide videos, and so since we post so
does Instagram.
So only like once a week. So yeah, follow us on Instagram.
It's called shadow banning.
Yeah, exactly. And so we only post once a week as of now. We're trying to get it to twice with some other shows that we're working on. But since we only post it's not infrequently, is it? Because infrequently.
Just own it.
Well, infrequently to me felt like almost like sporadically, but
Not
it's not
frequently.
sporadic.
Well, not frequent.
Yeah.
So
We only post once a week. So if you hit the bell, hopefully you won't miss when we finally do.
Yeah.
We're locking down a day. We're trying to decide. We're thinking
Saturday,
somewhere.
I think.
Yeah, we're thinking Saturday.
Working on getting the audio format.
Yeah, we're figuring out that whole beast.
Because so if you're listening to this on the audio, then I guess
congratulations.
We figured it out. Yeah, because that's definitely easier for people to stomach. Because sitting through an hour-long video is not in a lot of people's schedule to do. Yeah. So listening to it on your commute, whatever. But anyways, we'll catch you next time. We'll get a better sign-off at some point. Eventually. But until then, farewell.